Hey there, and welcome to a deep dive into Michelle Obama's Becoming.
Oh, yeah,
We're
yeah.
cracking open chapters 1 through 8,
Yeah, yeah.
stepping into her world from childhood on the south side of Chicago all the way to those pivotal college years. Ready to uncover the experiences that shaped her outlook.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go.
What's remarkable is how Michelle draws you in right from the start with such a strong sense of place, her family, the community, those small details that build a world. You can practically feel the warmth radiating from those early chapters.
Absolutely. And she doesn't just describe her parents, Fraser and Marion, she brings them to life.
Right.
He's the playful jokester, always teasing, while she's the voice of reason. Imagine growing up with that dynamic duo shaping your days.
Yeah, and that contrast is crucial. It speaks to the balanced upbringing that echoes throughout Michelle's entire story. You see that blend of discipline and warmth, practicality, intertwined with a genuine love for learning. It's like the foundation was set right there in her childhood home.
Speaking of foundations,
Yeah.
there's that intriguing detail about Michelle's great-uncle Terry.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine this. The man's always dressed to the nines, even while mowing the lawn.
Oh,
Wingtips and a perfectly pressed shirt every time.
really?
You have to wonder, what does that tell us about his generation's values?
It's such a small detail, but it speaks volumes. You get a sense of his quiet dignity, a generation navigating a society that wasn't always welcoming. It makes you think about the unspoken stories, the resilience woven into their everyday lives.
Absolutely. It underscores the backdrop of that time. Segregation, the unspoken struggles of black families striving for their place in the world. And Michelle doesn't shy away from these complexities in her story.
But she also doesn't let those complexities overshadow the joy, the simple pleasures that make up a life. Take her love for music, for example. Those piano lessons with her Aunt Robbie weren't just about hitting the right notes, they were about the satisfaction of mastering something new.
And remember how she talks about those tiny victories along the way?
Yeah.
Her teacher's subtle reactions, a slight nod or a knowing smile, were like fuel for a young Michelle. It's almost as if those small moments of validation meant the world to her.
Exactly. They highlight her hunger for growth, for proving herself capable, a trait that becomes a common thread throughout her journey.
And then comes school. Picture this. A confident young Michelle practically breezes into kindergarten already reading. Talk about making an entrance.
Oh, wow, yeah. But even then, amidst that early confidence, she encounters the first hints of societal divisions, those subtle advantages and disadvantages, through something as simple as a color card game.
It's a striking example of how these seemingly insignificant moments from childhood can leave a lasting impact. Those early experiences shape our understanding of the world and our place in it. This color card game, as she describes it, speaks to that early awareness of how people are sorted and categorized.
And that experience becomes even more poignant when you connect it to Michelle's lifelong commitment to equality. It's like those early encounters fueled her drive to challenge systems of privilege and disadvantage.
Speaking of challenging systems, let's talk about Michelle's high school years. Those long bus rides to Whitney Young High School weren't just about getting to class. They were like daily journeys to the heart of the Southside.
Exactly. She wasn't just commuting, she was absorbing the city's energy, witnessing the full spectrum of life, the joys, the struggles, the resilience. Those rides were like a crash course in the complexities of her city.
It's fascinating how those experiences come through in her writing. You can feel that deep connection to her roots, a sense of place that goes beyond just geography.
And then there's her friendship with Santita Jackson, which offers a glimpse into a completely different world. Here's Michelle coming from a stable, loving home, and Santita's family is deeply entrenched in the world of politics and social justice. Talk about contrasting upbringings.
It makes you wonder how those early influences, those different approaches to life and creating change, might have shaped Michelle's own worldview. What do you think?
It definitely speaks to her ability to embrace different perspectives. Even if their approaches differed to me, she was learning, observing, and absorbing all of it.
It's like she's collecting these different lenses through which to view the world, understanding that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to making a difference. And then comes the leap from those formative high school years to the hallowed halls of Princeton.
Right.
Remember that road trip she describes?
Yeah, yeah.
Michelle, her dad, and her boyfriend all packed into the car heading towards this new chapter. It's bittersweet, though, right? There's excitement for the future, but also that looming sense of an ending as her relationship comes to a close.
It's a pivotal moment. Imagine being in Michelle's shoes, stepping onto a predominantly white campus, carrying the weight of representation, that internal pressure to prove herself. It's a lot to process.
She talks about that feeling of needing to overperform, to defy expectations. Not just for herself, but for her community, for everyone who ever felt underestimated or overlooked.
Absolutely. It's a constant thread throughout her journey, that drive to excel, to challenge stereotypes, to represent something bigger than herself.
And amidst those pressures, she finds Suzanne, her roommate and confidant. Imagine finding your person, your kindred spirit, in this unfamiliar environment.
Yeah, it highlights the power of shared experiences, especially for young Black women navigating spaces where they might feel like outsiders.
They build this incredibly strong bond, sharing laughter, late-night talks, dreams for the future. And then comes the devastating news of Suzanne's illness.
This is where the story takes a heartbreaking turn. The rawness of Michelle's grief is palpable as she describes losing someone so close so young. It makes you reflect on how loss can shake your world, forcing you to confront life's fragility.
And the way she captures that jarring contrast, the world continuing to spin while hers feels like it's stopped. It's a universal experience, that feeling of being caught between grief and the need to keep moving forward.
Absolutely, it speaks to the resilience of the human spirit, the ability to find strength even in the darkest of times.
And then just as she's navigating this profound loss, a charismatic law student named Barack Obama walks into her life.
Wow.
Their first encounter at Sidley in Austin is far from love at first sight.
Oh.
In fact, Michelle's pretty skeptical of this confident young man. It's fascinating to see their initial dynamic. You have Michelle, this driven, practical woman, and then there's Barack, full of big ideas and even bigger dreams. She's not easily impressed. She's drawn to his intellect, his passion for social justice. But she also questions his choices.
Right.
Remember her reaction when he tells her about his community organizing work?
Oh, yeah. It's classic Michelle.
She sees the potential in him, but she's also thinking, why would someone who graduated from Harvard Law School choose this path?
Yeah.
It speaks to her practicality, her belief in a certain definition of success.
Right.
But then she sees him in action, witnessing firsthand his dedication to empowering communities. It challenges her own preconceived notions.
Exactly. It's like a light bulb goes off. She starts to understand the depth of his commitment, the power of his vision, and it resonates with her on a different level.
It makes you wonder, has there ever been a moment in your life where witnessing someone else's passion, their dedication to a cause, made you reevaluate your own path? It's a powerful thing.
Absolutely. And it's in those moments of questioning, of challenging our own assumptions, that real growth happens.
And then comes the whirlwind of Barack's political aspirations, the decision to run for the U.S. Senate. It wasn't just their lives that were about to change, it was the national stage calling.
It's a turning point, and you really feel Michelle wrestling with the implications. What would this mean for their family, for their daughters, for their marriage? The potential sacrifices are huge.
She's incredibly honest about those initial hesitations, about the fears she carries. There's that one line where she talks about the campaign putting a dent in their souls, and it really gets to you. It's that raw, unfiltered glimpse into the personal toll public life can take.
Right. It reminds you that behind the political stage, there are real people with real emotions trying to navigate these extraordinary circumstances.
And yet, amidst those concerns, she also sees the potential for good, the possibility of making a real impact. It's conflict many people face, balancing personal aspirations with the desire to serve a larger purpose. Ultimately, she chooses to stand by her husband's side.
But it's more than just standing by his side. She becomes this incredible force in her own right, connecting with voters in a way that feels genuine and relatable.
And she does all of this while juggling her own career, raising their daughters, and navigating the constant scrutiny that comes with being in the public eye. Talk about resilience.
It's a testament to her ability to adapt and even thrive in demanding circumstances. She becomes a role model for women everywhere, demonstrating that you can be a supportive partner while also pursuing your own passions and goals.
Then comes that historic election, the move to the White House, the way to becoming the First Lady of the United States. There's a whole new level of pressure, a whole new set of expectations.
You see Michelle grappling with this new role, trying to find her footing, her own way of making an impact. She's open about the challenges, the loneliness that can exist even when you're constantly surrounded by people.
She talks about that pressure to be perfect, the constant scrutiny of her every word and action. It makes you wonder, how do you stay grounded when the whole world is watching your every move?
And yet, even amidst the chaos, she finds ways to create a sense of normalcy, especially for her daughters. The White House garden becomes the symbol of that grounding force, a space for growth and connection.
It's inspiring how she uses her platform to champion issues she cares about, from healthy living to supporting military families. These aren't just symbolic gestures, they're tangible expressions of her values.
And throughout it all, she never loses sight of who she is, never shies away from the complexities of being a Black woman in a position of power.
She speaks candidly about those experiences, the stereotypes she's encountered, the double standards. Yet she always does it with grace and dignity.
Her story becomes a reminder that you don't have to diminish yourself to fit into someone else's mold. You can embrace your complexities, your heritage, your experiences, and use them to empower yourself and others.
Becoming isn't just Michelle Obama's story. It's a reflection of the larger American story with all its complexities and contradictions. It's about family ambition, resilience, and the pursuit of something bigger than yourself.
It's a reminder that we all have the power to shape our own narratives, to use our voices to create change. And sometimes it's those small acts of courage, those moments where we choose to be our authentic selves that can have the biggest impact.
So as you reflect on Michelle Obama's journey, we'd love for you to consider, what are the experiences that have shaped your own becoming? What are the values that guide you? And how can you use your voice to make a difference in the world? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.